switch position. Clean version.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Hello?
Hey, do you want to like?
Wait, can you hear me?
Record this or something? You want me to record it?
Hello? Am I coming through?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
My
fine.
mic's tripping
So
out.
I mean, if you want me, I can record a debate between like you and this guy. If you want to debate him, he's a proponent of tag. I already like demolished him. I had my fun. I didn't record my part, but you know, like now it's like your turn. You can slap him around a little bit.
Okay, sure, yeah.
If you want me to record, like, just give me a second. I can like start the recording.
All right, that's fine. You can. Well, we're gonna wait for him to record.
Just give me a second. I have to like adjust the settings and just like you know.
How long is that gonna take?
Like less than 30 seconds. Just give me a minute.
All right, so you can just start by giving the tag argument.
Is he recording?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes, so I can just put in the modus ponens. I'm sure you're aware already. X is necessary precondition for y, therefore x. And that's not going to just be an analytic statement. That's going to be based on the nature of the things it's conditionalizing.
So the first premise is just a
So, like,
biconditional.
probability logic. Sorry?
The first premise is a biconditional.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the argument for the first premise?
What do you mean by the first premise? Or the argument for it? That's what I was
The
talking
first,
about
the biconditional. What's the argument for the biconditional?
Yeah, like I said, it wouldn't just be analytical. It would be based on the nature of the things it's.
Okay, I'm not. I didn't. Okay, I didn't. I asked what's the argument
That's for the argument.
for the. Yeah. So
So
what's
what
the
part-
argument for the
So
biconditional?
if that's not the argument for it, what are you asking for?
Wait, I'm asking you what's the argument for the biconditional?
In what sense? Because I just.
In
was
what
trying to
sense?
differentiate The natures of the things it's.
Okay, what's premise one of the arguments supporting the biconditional?
It's just I just gave him modus ponens.
Here, let's write it out since you're not getting it.
I mean, you just I was starting to substantiate it, and then you just said it's no. And you didn't really explain that.
No, you're not tracking. I asked what's the supporting argument for it. I didn't say no. I asked if you had an
Yeah,
argument
I was
supporting the
going on.
biconditional.
Yeah. So if you heard me, I was talking about how it substantiates, and then you just cut me off and said it's not the argument. That could be the support argument for it if that's your problem. with it.
What's the argument for this proposition?
Yeah, but by the way, by God, I don't just mean like some theism. It would be divine conceptualism.
Okay, I'm asking you what's the argument for this proposition.
Yeah. So what criteriology are you asking for then? I don't know what you mean by argument then.
You don't know what I mean by argument.
Yeah, because you're just repeating it, and I'm giving.
Okay, what I mean by argument is a sequence of premises that infers this conclusion. The standard sense of argument that's used in the tag argument. The same sense of argument.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could give a syllogism, but like I said, it's kind of.
Okay, so I just want to know if you have. Sure, if you have.
That's going to be universal for all.
Yeah, so just give premise one of the argument supporting this conclusion.
Yeah, so did you hear what I just said?
Yeah, I'm asking you what's the P1
Yeah,
supporting this
syllogisms are gonna
conclusion.
Yeah, and syllogisms are going to combat like things that might be in disagreement, right?
Okay, I'm asking you what's the P1 supporting this conclusion.
Yeah, so you're repeating yourself. Are you already lost? Hello? I thought you were like the peak atheist, dude.
My mic cuts out.
Yo.
Also, you don't need to do the rhetoric. You're the one who's not giving a P1 in support of this
just repeating
conclusion.
yourself.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
I'm glad you recognize that too.
Yeah, so you understand the
So
syllogisms
what's
are gonna have-
P1 of this argument?
Right, so my premise is, do you want me to just make some universal premise on things that not all atheists hold to?
I just want to know if you have a premise one supporting this.
Yeah, and you understand all atheists justify intelligibility the same way, right? So how could I give a syllogism?
Sorry, I'm asking you, is the answer yes, I have a supporting argument for this conclusion, for this premise?
Well, what were you typing?
I've already typed it.
God and
If it,
only- if and only if God, the knowledge?
mm-hmm.
So you want to are you asking for like a positive syllogism?
I'm asking you if you have an argument supporting this conclusion. This was your premise one of the stage 1 argument. I want to know what's the argument, the stage 2 argument, supporting this biconditional.
Are you typing something, or is that it? Or are you just saying that?
I just said it out loud. You clearly don't see me typing.
So is it not valid
What?
to say that it would be
Am I
substantiating
typing?
the natures that are proportionate to the thing?
I'm just asking you what's the argument. So what's P1?
You keep repeating. Are you retarded?
What's P1?
Yeah. So you want a syllogism, right?
I want an argument. It doesn't have to be a syllogism.
Okay. So how could I give an argument if not all atheists universally accept this?
I don't understand why you're asking me a question. Do you have an argument supporting it or not?
Because if I'm gonna give
Okay,
an
wait.
argument,
Let's
how
just
can I
go.
have an
Let's just go step by step. Do you have an argument supporting the
argument? Yes, in
biconditional?
chat, positive syllogism would just be.
Sorry.
substantiating the word.
Just focus on your interlocutor.
Okay,
Do you have a supporting argument for this biconditional?
Yeah, supporting.
Okay, so then
argument.
give that premise one.
Yeah, and I was doing that. And you just keep repeating yourself.
Okay, what's premise one?
So can I like continue, or are you just gonna keep repeating yourself?
When I say what is premise 1, that's your cue to give premise 1.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Okay, so what is premise 1? Go.
Yeah, I'll write it in chat so it's not like lost anywhere. You're fine with like premise 1, premise 2, conclusion, right? It's valid, or are you gonna like question that too?
I guess his voice is cutting out in between.
Mine, right?
Am I cutting?
I guess I guess his voice is cutting out. I've heard him a few times, but his voice is cutting out.
Wait, his or
It's
mine?
him.
I think he's talking about me.
I was talking about you,
Oh,
monkey.
Yeah.
Your voice was cutting out.
Yeah, my
Are you
mic
fine with
does that.
premise 1, premise 2, conclusion.
Are you just asking me if I'm fine with an argument? What are you asking me?
Yeah.
Just give the argument. Just give the argument. I don't know what you're asking me. Are you just asking me if I'm okay with it being 2 premises? I don't give a shit how many premises it is. What type of question is that?
I wanna make sure that-
Retarded. Jesus Christ. Am I okay with premise, conclusion? The most stupidest question. Just give the argument.
We could say like.
Yeah, that was funny. Positive syllogism.
I mean, you don't know what that means.
These precepts are on another level of stupidity.
All right. While I'm doing this, you can just define positive syllogism. Unless you think that's not a real thing. That's interesting.
No, I don't care to hear you define that. And when you say it's not a real thing, I mean, yeah, if what you mean by a real thing is it's used in logic. No, there's no such thing as a positive syllogism in logic. You understand that you understand that a positive is just some expression that doesn't have the unary operator of negation, and the unary operator of negation in logic is strictly applied to propositions, not inferences. So syllogisms can't have the property of being positive or negative. Only propositions could.
Can you understand? Okay. Wait, just write my
But yeah, just write your thing.
Suck up on that.
You can say more shit while you go, by the way. But you are aware of this, right? The negation symbol only applies to propositions in logic.
I'm not gonna get lost.
I'm just asking you. This is like very basic. It's just a yes or no. Are you aware that negations only apply to
Why are you,
propositions?
like, I'm mid-writing. I'm not trying to lose my train of thought.
Okay, but can you just say yes or no real quick?
I didn't even listen to what you said.
Are you aware that in logic only propositions could be negated?
Yeah. Can I like not lose my train of thought?
Okay. Yeah, you gotta focus hard on this one. Go ahead.
Because I want to make sure you're not like. Because you're asking for me.
Yeah, you don't want to get embarrassed. I get it.
So
I didn't ask for anything universal. I don't. Wait, what is a universal syllogism? Criteriology. Criteriology. Oh my god. Okay, I don't know what a universal argument is. I'm just asking you to give an argument. I don't even. You understand that quantification is over objects in a domain of discourse, where the objects quantify the predicates over the object. So when you say universal relations are between objects and properties or predicates. Yeah, for an example, all dogs are brown. The object dog satisfying the predicate of brown is a universal quantified statement. Universal things only apply to objects. So when you ask me for a universal argument, an argument's just a sequence of premises. So it's not an object. Jesus Christ, you're retarded. Just continue. A universal argument. I hope everyone here just appreciates the retardation that's spewed out of this guy's mouth.
Wait, is he not done writing? Like,
No, he's struggling. Yeah, he never actually produced an argument before.
You think that's the only way to
And by the way, this guy thinks that positive and negation properties are happenances, and he also thinks there's such thing as universal arguments. This guy definitely read a logic textbook, right? He definitely knows Logic 101. You know, if I asked you to name... Okay, do you even know that the difference between formal language and formal model in logic?
I'm not going to get stuck on your questions while I'm doing this.
How many unary operators in first order logic? Do you know that? And do you know what an unary operator is?
Questions. Still asking me more questions.
Okay, yeah, you could dodge them all. That's fine. Just focus. No, PKD. I can guarantee you his argument's not going to be valid. Warzone is going to take. It's going to take a while.
Before the start, how can you what's your like criteria for?
Wait, you're answering a question right now.
Like, argument?
Wait, how did you just answer a long-winded question when earlier I asked a yes or no question and you said I'm focusing, and then right now you just went on a little minute monologue replying to him. Okay, so wait, so are you able to answer my question since preliminarily I asked mine first? You think you can quickly say yes or no?
What your things are proceeding from the same question.
Do you agree that the unary operator of negation in logic
Do you
only
want me
applies to
make the argument?
propositions?
Do you want me to make the argument or like answer your
N-
questions that are just side
I want you to do both. And you already answered a side question that came after the fact I already asked you one, and you said you wouldn't answer, but then you answered in a more long-winded one when I was asking yes or no. So
just like
you clearly are able to answer, right? It just shows now you're dodging. So I'll just ask you real quick.
I'm dodging.
Do you agree that the negation operator only applies to propositions? Okay, don't play the games. Just write it out. Yeah.
Dude, is he actually going to write something, or is he just pretending? Just
No,
curious.
I am writing. I'm just trying to.
Well, he
think how
stopped
I can put this
typing,
out
but
in this context.
Yeah, Warzone.
How
He
long is it gonna
needs
take approx?
he has to use
Why
brain
would I have
power.
done it in this way. I want to make sure there's
5
no
hours.
flaws in it.
It's funny too. He just keeps responding to Warzone. Wow, he can't answer a yes or no. That's obviously introduced prior. Makes so much
Some things
sense.
you say, I've already like heard many times. So I already know what to say to it.
Oh yeah, but you didn't answer. So if okay, so you are dodging. So it isn't a matter of focusing. You already heard them and know the answer, and you were able to answer questions that came later to the question I asked, and then you, by your own volition, didn't answer. That's just a dodge. Why? I'm so confused. How I'm just outlining a very basic point. Jesus Christ. Look, just everyone mute up. I'll mute up myself and take the 10 minutes you need to write this one argument, this one syllogism
I
out.
don't really know how I could formulate this. I don't know what premises you would agree to.
Doesn't matter. Just give whatever argument.
Like impossible. It would. It literally would.
No, you're supposed to give an argument.
Just an assertion, and this was just a waste of time.
What do you think an argument is? Why do you think there's supporting? You already introduced from the onset the tag argument.
Yeah, I don't know.
By lights, that would just be a series of assertions because the first premise was actually in contention. Validity is the property of arguments. Whether or not the argument's valid or not, we could talk about. But when you say that if I don't agree with the premises, then it's just a bunch of assertions, well, then that just means that I don't agree to the propositions, and then you'd have to give supporting reasons to believe those.
It's going to be a meta level. It's going to be a meta level argument. So I'm not talking about like some kind of things.
Okay, let's just cut the chit chat. Just focus, so you can produce the argument as fast as possible.
Yeah, I'm like realizing how can I produce this if you don't have like.
You're realizing you don't know how to produce it. I'm glad to know.
How can I make a paradigm level argument if I don't know your paradigm?
Sorry, when you make the claim, if and only if God, then knowledge, that claim doesn't require the awareness of any particular agent's paradigm. Because in order to be justified in making that claim, if the modality of the equivalence relation is logical, then you would just have to show how there's a contradiction entailed from its negation.
Yeah, contradiction and under what criteriology? You understand that the modality could also just be that you can't accept the tools because they're not justified?
That's, what do you,
How you would even,
wait, the modality, wait, the modality could be you just don't accept the tools. That's a modality.
No, that's wrong, man.
That's what you said verbatim. You said the modality could be that you wouldn't accept the
It
tools.
would be impossible because if you
Impossibility isn't informing me the modality. That's just, oh my God.
it would just be
No, impossibility.
necessary.
No, you're not informing me the modality.
Yeah, it would be that.
That's just repeating the scope of necessity. It's not informing me the modality.
Then what are you asking?
The modality, you understand? Okay, do you know anything about modal logic?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that the modality offers the modal semantics. The modal scope is the operator. So when you say necessity, that is just the modal scope. When I asked what's the modality, you didn't offer a modality, and you repeated necessity, and I informed you necessity. Yes, necessity is the operator.
What do you mean? Can you explain that?
I don't know what's confusing. If you know modal logic, you know necessity is an unary operator.
Are you saying like it's exclusive to the operator? I don't get your point.
Exclusive to the operator. I don't know what you understand. In modal logic, necessity is an operator. Its function is that it has a single string relation to a proposition.
Right.
Yeah, it functions similarly to a one-place predicate, right? Except it's not a predicate, it's an operator, right? In the same way the negation sign functions, right? It's just, in that same respect, it's that operator. I don't know what's confusing. This is literally the most lowest. It operates the same way the negation symbol operates. At least syntactically. I don't know the modality. Yeah, because you don't know modal logic. You lied about knowing basic modal logic because I asked you what was the modality, and then you didn't offer modality. I informed you all you did was scope. I didn't say that you said that. I said that you showed that you don't know. And the way you showed that was by repeating the modal scope when asked what's the modality, and then also not understanding things like unary functions and what it means for necessity to be an operator. What I said necessity is an operator, and you asked me what do I mean by that? Like, what is? I don't even. You obviously don't know anything about modal logic if you don't know that necessity is an operator.
I was asking how it comport to like any kind of.
Yeah, try and gerrymander and damage control the bullshit you're spewing.
Damage control what? You're just.
You obviously don't know what you're saying.
Oops, an operator. Yeah, what do I not know what I'm saying?
You mean I'm spewing out terms or definitions?
I understand.
You said I'm spewing definitions. Was it terms or definitions I was spewing? Sure to which, the prior or the latter?
I don't get how this would comport back to my point.
Your point that I asked you what modality, you repeated a modal scope. Am I cutting out for anyone else? It shows my things lighting up. Okay.
You're good now.
Yeah, so I asked you what's the modality, and you repeated in the modal scope, which was necessity.
Modality in what sense?
When you ask modality in what sense, I'm confused what you're even asking.
Modality.
Yeah, what's the modality? There's only one. I don't.
Modality of what?
In what sense? What do you? Wait. What are the multiple senses of modality that you have? Because if
I don't know what you're referencing.
yeah, you said in what sense? That must mean you have a plurality of senses, and I'll just I'll offer you which interpretation from the range of senses that I'm using. You said what sense? What senses of modality do you have?
Modality.
Yeah, that's what I asked you. Which modality?
You said which modality as if there's one, like type of modality.
No. Why would it mean to say which modality if there's only one? If there was only one, I would ask the question of which as if there's a select range. Sorry. If I asked you which modality, and which we understand implies a question of the range, which is of the range of possible modalities are you selecting from? It makes no sense if there's only one,
Yeah, it would be
right? That's like a retarded thing. Oh, it's wait. Okay, so it's epistemic modality. Okay, so it's epistemically necessary. Oh, this is okay. This is gonna be great. Okay, please finish producing the argument, dude. Marco PKD. That God is epistemically necessary for the existence of knowledge.
Can we go back to like criteriology?
Yeah, because you said something very silly. You said it's epistemically necessary that for there to be knowledge, there's God. What do you think? Wait, let me just get clear. What do you think epistemic necessity is?
It would be that knowledge is definitely true.
Oh God, he doesn't know modality.
What do you mean?
Are you familiar with like accessibility relations in modality?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so when you say you guess so, I just want to get. Well, I never made the claim it's not epistemic modality. I don't know why you do this weird thing where. Sorry. You do this weird thing where you would say like you bullshit about what you know, and then I ask a relevant question to clarify, and then you say, "Well, I don't know why you're asking that." When you just said that you knew what it means, and it should be apparent to anyone who's aware of modality. When you talk about necessity, there's going to be accessibility relations. So when you talk about epistemic modality, we must get clear how you understand the possible worlds and the accessibility relations between possible worlds.
Yeah, and I was talking before about divine conceptualism.
Okay, I wasn't. Thanks for the irrelevant response. Right. What I just said was that when you say epistemic modality, sorry, because what I just said did not have anything to do with the fact you're a divine conceptualist. It doesn't turn on anything the fact you're a divine conceptualist. To what I just said, explaining how accessibility relations are key to defining epistemic modality. Like it's like me explaining certain syntactic functions of logic, and then the guy says, "Yeah, but I'm a divine conceptualist." Like that changes anything about the logical syntax of like certain formulas in logic. Like, okay, cool, you're a divine conceptualist. Can you respond to an objection? Yeah, thank you. Great observation.
Yeah, so how would divine conceptualism not play into that?
Because divine conceptualism doesn't talk about there being accessibility relations. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and then it could just
Do you think that wait, hold on. Do you think divine conceptualism is a theory that comments or commentaries on accessibility relations? Is that your idea? Is that your understanding? Because it's kind of
you already understood.
it's kind of strange. I understand you're a Christian and a divine conceptualist. What you just said is I don't understand how not bringing up divine conceptualism is irrelevant to accessibility relations. When divine conceptualism isn't a theory that comments on accessibility relations.
Because it would be the dependency on God. You understand how?
That's irrelevant. I don't care if you think they're dependent on God. No, it is irrelevant because my point isn't whether or not they're dependent. I'm not asking a question about the dependency about the accessibility relations. I'm talking about using the accessibility relations to define the epistemic modality. Whether or not, the fact of the matter, whether the accessibility relations are parasitic on the existence of God is irrelevant. I can grant you that because that has literally nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you talk about epistemic modality. First, I want to clarify because you obviously don't have the concept of epistemic modality that any philosopher would be talking about.
Yeah, please
So,
define it.
so I just first want to understand if you have an understanding of accessibility relations.
So what do you want me to define?
Do you have an understanding of accessibility relations?
In context or just by itself?
Just answer the question. Do you have an understanding of accessibility relations in modality?
Accessibility. Wait, are you asking for the definition of accessibility relations, or?
I'm asking
like,
yes or no. Do you have a concept of accessibility relations? Are you aware of what accessibility relations are in modality?
Accessibility relations in modality?
Yes. There's no. Yeah, I had to clarify. I know it's redundant. Unless, maybe you don't even know it's redundant. Yes. Do you know in the field of modality, modality uses language called accessibility language. Accessibility language refers to the accessibility relations between possible worlds. I'm asking if you have a concept of accessibility relations. Yeah. Okay. So you know what accessibility relations are? Yes or no?
Access to the relations, or are you asking if to define accessible relations?
I'm asking, are you aware of what accessibility relations are? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not asking for a definition. I didn't ask you to define the expression accessibility relation. So I don't know I don't know what's confused about that. And I've already said no twice to that. So what I'm very clearly asking, use your listening ears, do you have a concept? Do you have a concept of what accessibility relations are?
A concept?
Okay, you know what? Let's just avoid the meta because you're so retarded. You don't know what anything is.
You're not, like,
Just
being
you
very
still haven't typed the argument. Where is it at?
Yeah, because if you like track the whole thing, it would depend on your criteriology. I don't know if I.
You were typing it out. Just finish typing it out.
Yeah, and I realized within like premise 2, it would be very dependent on if you have some kind of valid paradigm.
Wait, so to be clear, you don't have an argument.
It wouldn't have it because I can't argue against something that doesn't exist. Like what?
Okay, so the answer is yes, I don't have an argument in support. Is that right?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard what you said, and I'm clarifying if what you're saying is that you don't have an argument. Is that right or wrong?
It would be because you're not giving your like paradigm at all. You're just telling me to make an argument out of thin air against nothing.
So the answer is yes, I don't have an argument.
Are you like hearing me?
Yeah, you just said that if I don't know your paradigm, it would be like creating an argument from thin air. So it seems like what you're saying is since you're not aware of what my paradigm is, you're not disposed to an argument currently. So until you're first, and sorry, it seems like what you're saying, if I'm correct, is what you're saying until you're furnished with what my paradigm is, then you would have an argument, which would just mean currently you don't have an argument. Okay, so let me be clear. Sorry, so let me be clear. Do you have an argument supporting the biconditional statement?
You haven't negated it biconditional though.
I don't care. I'm not. Okay, I'm not. We're not talking about anything like that. Look, all I'm asking you is,
Yes, you are.
no, I don't know what you mean negating the biconditional. I'm asking you if you have an argument supporting the biconditional statement.
Yeah. So why are you demanding something?
I'm not demanding. It's a question of what. Sorry, I didn't produce the argument very clearly for the past 20 minutes. I've been asking, do you have an argument? Do you have an argument? Now is the answer yes, I have an argument, or no?
Is that going to be a meaningful statement
Sorry, do you have an argument? Yes or no?
or a question? Yeah, is that going to be a meaningful question?
Sorry, I need an answer to my question.
Yeah, that's why, because this whole thing falls apart.
So when you say it all falls apart, is that to say you don't have an argument?
Because you're just forming your critique in a question, and then you're trying to play it off as it's just.
I'm not forming a critique. Sorry, questions aren't critiques.
You're literally asking, you're
I'm not offering any type of critique at all. I'm just asking you if you have an argument.
Oh, so then.
If John says that unicorns exist, and I ask him, do you have an argument that unicorns exist? The question of do you have an argument unicorns exist is not a critique. It's a question of whether he has an argument for the proposition he believes. So when I ask you, it's the same sentiment. So all I'm asking you to be clear is whether you have an argument.
Propositions are valid or not. Do you have any kind of standard?
Sorry, that question is irrelevant because we're not concerned with my stand. No, I'm asking you whether you have an
Yeah,
argument.
it's a middle-level argument.
Sorry, I'm asking whether you. Sorry, I'm asking you whether you have an argument.
Yeah, if you're gonna question biconditional, you'll need some type of validity.
Okay, I'm asking you whether. Okay, that could be true, and I'm just asking you whether you have an argument for it.
What do you mean it could be true? That's my whole point.
Suppose what you just said was true. That doesn't answer the question whether you have an argument.
Is that gonna be counterfactual? Is that
Sorry.
hypothetical counterfactual?
Sorry, I'm asking you whether you have an argument.
Yeah, keep repeating it. This is great.
So what's the answer?
Is your hypothetical you just gave when you granted me it for the sake of argument? Is it gonna be counterfactual? If so, are you just agnostic to
Yes, it is counterfactual. I do not actually grant.
Okay, so you're
I do not
agnostic to
actually believe.
epistemology. Yeah, so you're agnostic to epistemology.
Epistemology isn't a proposition.
Yeah, and you know propositions proceed from epistemic justification.
Sorry, you said, am I agnostic on epistemology? Agnosticism is when you suspend a belief or judgment towards a proposition.
Yeah, and you haven't provided any kind
But
of belief.
sorry, no, wait. Look, let's just take step by step to show your confusion. You said I'm agnostic on epistemology. Do we agree you can only be agnostic towards propositions?
You cut out of what you said.
Do you agree you can only be agnostic towards propositions?
I guess, sure.
Epistemology is not a proposition.
Well, the justification would be a proposition.
Justification is also not a proposition.
Well, it would be.
It wouldn't be. So if you're talking about justification as in an argument isn't a proposition. It's a string of propositions. So it's not, in fact, that's why there's second order logics that quantify over propositions, because propositions aren't the things you can quantify over when you say that I believe or I'm different or I'm agnostic to arguments. So if by justification you mean an argument, no, you can be agnostic as to justification as in an argument, because an argument's not a proposition. Whether you are agnostic as to the conclusion or the premise of the argument, which would just be reducing to whether you're agnostic to certain propositions that the argument carries, then yeah, either way, you can't be agnostic to justification. Now, justification itself is a noun and refers to a field of study in philosophy. So of course you can't be agnostic to it in either of those two ways. So let's get clear. Do you have an argument for the proposition if and only if knowledge, then God?
Can I respond?
With a yes or no.
So that's why you're playing this game. So I don't agree. That
Do you agree do you agree that it's exclusively yes or no you have an argument?
Yeah, so can I respond?
Okay, so if you agree it can only be yes or no you have an argument.
Why are you begging
Which
the question?
option?
Why are you creating a dichotomy if I don't agree with it?
Sorry, I asked you, do you agree it can only be yes or no? And you said yes. Then I said, which horn are you agreeing to? Okay, so then let's try this again. Is it either only yes or no you have an argument? Do you agree it can only be yes or no I have an argument? Also, yes or no is a dichotomy. Because yes represents I have an attitude, it's true. No represents I have an attitude, it's false. Which just means it's either true that I have an argument or false I have an argument. And that's, of course, trivially a dichotomy. It's a true dichotomy.
But that's great.
So
Yes,
do you have an
fall under
argument?
first order logic.
Do you have an argument?
Hello?
Do you have an argument?
Why did you avoid what I just said?
Do you have an argument?
Lagging. Yeah, did you just hear what I said? I don't agree.
Was the
with
answer
your
yes?
demand.
I'm not making a demand.
Yes, you are. You're asking for an argument.
Sorry, I didn't ask you for an argument.
You just did.
I just didn't. I asked, do you have an
You asked
argument?
me for an argument.
I said, do you have an argument? It could be true, I have an argument, and I'm not going to actually present it. So that doesn't follow that I'm demanding anything. First, a demand requires certain linguistic devices that structure a command type of expression. Now, I never said anything like, give me, present to me, or any of those types of devices. So it can't be the case that I've demanded anything. In fact, I've made a very clear inquisitive expression, which was, do you have an argument? So I want to clear, do you have an argument?
Oh my gosh. Losing my mind. Yeah, are you agnostic to my bicondition?
Sorry, I'm asking you a question. Answer yes or no.
Yeah, you know what you're saying.
So yeah, yeah, you have an argument. Was that it?
Are you trying to get some gotcha? This is not working.
Sorry, I'm asking you, do you have an argument? It's not a gotcha. It's either yes, I have an argument, or no.
It literally is a. It literally is a gotcha.
It's not a gotcha question.
Yeah, because I don't agree to your conclusion.
I didn't
Consequent wouldn't
conclusion.
rely on
There isn't any conclusion. I'm asking you, do you have an argument? There's no conclusion. I'm asking yes, do you have an argument, or no?
Yeah, and that's gonna revolve around first order logic, right?
No, I'm just asking you whether you have an argument.
It's not. No, it's not.
No, it doesn't have to just first order logic.
Oh, okay, so how do you have a? What's your foundation?
Sorry, do you have an argument? Yes or no?
Exactly. Yeah, my question's prior to yours.
Sorry, I asked the question, do you have an argument? And I have not yet been offered an answer. So until you furnish an answer to the question of whether you have an argument, we will not entertain any questions that come after.
Questions. Entertain. What are you talking about?
I asked the question, and I've already entertained the question of whether you need first order logic. I've already said no, and I shouldn't have entertained that question because that question is not an answer. So what we're going to stay very linear and vigilant of where we're at in the dialectic. Where we're at is getting offered an answer to the question whether you have an argument. So until we get an argument, or sorry, an answer to the question of whether you have an argument, then we will not move on. So I'll wait until whether you have an argument.
You're presuming the validity of your dichotomy.
I didn't even make a dichotomy. A dichotomy is a proposition. I'm asking whether you have. No, I asked the question, do you have an argument? Now I said you can form that as a dichotomy. Either it's true, I have an argument, or it's false. But I haven't made any dichotomous statement. There are ways you can even make it that it's not dichotomous under certain types of pluralist truth value theories, right? Or under certain views that deny excluded middle or non-contradiction and stuff like that, where you can have something other than true or false. But in any case, I'm just asking you, do you have an argument? So what is your answer?
Yeah, so are you assuming the thing that I'm questioning already?
I didn't make any assumption. What's the argument? Oh, sorry, do you have an argument?
Yes, you are. You're assuming the things that are in my Bible.
Sorry, do you have an argument?
Is this gonna go anywhere?
And also, when you make the claim, I'm assuming something, do you have an argument? I'm assuming anything?
Yeah, it would be, again, through the substantiation with the natures of, like, logic.
Oh, okay, so type the argument. Type the argument, I'm making an assumption, right? Conclude what is...
I don't know what you hold to. That's the whole problem. Are you, like,
Wait,
tracking it?
wait, you said I'm making an assumption and you don't know what assumption I'm making? How are you in any position to claim I'm making an assumption if you're not aware of any assumption I've made thus far? Look, all I've been doing on repeat was asking the question of whether you have an argument, and I've made it clear to you how that question isn't presuming anything or assuming anything. I never assumed there's a dichotomy. I never assumed anything about there being non-contradiction, excluded middle, pluralist views about truth value or many value theories or anything like that. So all I'm asking you is whether you have an argument. So all I want is an answer. I haven't made any assumptions because I haven't made any claims, and the question is not loaded because it doesn't presume any of the things I just described about excluded middle, pluralist views, or certain types of multi-valued theories of truth, or any of that, or excluded middle, certain fuzzy truth values. None of that does it presume. So let's just get clear. There's no assumption. If you want to make the claim there's an assumption, then we can halt where we're at and not entertain the question because you have reason to suspect that the question is loaded. If you believe the question is loaded, then what we can do is here, and then you can give an argument that the question's loaded. If you don't have that argument, we're going to stay on the question as we're currently at, and we want to get an answer whether or not you have an argument for the biconditional premise contained in your one argument. So let's get clear. What is the answer? And I'll repeat it just so you're clear. Do you have an argument for the first premise of the stage one argument you presented, that being the biconditional statement, if and only if God, then knowledge?
You're affirming the consequent.
I haven't made an inference.
Yeah, you're being agnostic to it, yet you're demanding...
Affirming the consequent is a type of error inferentially. I haven't made an inference. I'm asking a question.
Yeah, and this...
Affirming the consequent is when it's... Affirming the consequence when you have an argument that's if P, then Q, Q, therefore P. I never made an argument. What are you talking about? I never made an argument. All I'm asking you is, do you have an argument?
It would be in the form of if my... Yeah, it would be in the form of if my biconditional is valid under some kind of structure.
Sorry, all I'm asking is whether you have an argument.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just going back to this.
Wait, so if you want to... Do you want to talk about me affirming the consequence since you want to dodge whether you have an argument? Well, now, either way, you're going to need to produce an argument. What is the argument... What is the argument I've made? That... Can you hear me now, though?
I still can't hear you.
You can't hear me right now.
That's not the argument I'm making, by the way.
Sorry, can you hear me?
People in chat. Yeah.
You can hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
Okay, so if you're making the claim I produced an argument that's affirming the consequent, type out in the chat what's the argument I gave that's affirming the consequent.
You would be asking for some type of validity.
Sorry, type out the argument in the chat.
Alright. I'm gonna lose this premise around me. It wasn't gonna work anyway. Or can you repeat now, because I forgot what you said.
I asked, what's the argument? Or sorry, do you have an argument? That's what I asked.
No, before that, when we were talking about, like, before you cut out and you switched mics.
Yeah, before that I said the same thing. I said, can you type out the argument that you claimed that I've produced that's affirming the consequent? And it's so funny, either you're actually this stupid, either you're being this stupid, or which is more obvious, you're being dishonest. I very clearly never produced an argument that is affirming the consequent. Sorry, you made the claim I'm making an argument that's affirming the consequent. I never produced an argument. What was the argument I produced? What are you talking about? Yeah, just type it out in the chat. Sorry, just type it out in the chat. Because we can verify from the structure of the inference whether it's affirming the consequent or not. So just type it out. And PKD, he obviously doesn't know what affirming the consequent is. That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, I don't, right?
Yeah, just like you don't know what accessibility relations are, or pretty much anything we've spoken about.
Right. Can you see?
Yo, PKD, I got it right. I said he wasn't gonna give an argument, just a load of text. Oh my god, no way. I'm like so good at predicting. Wait, you understand? No, I asked you to produce the argument that is affirming the consequent. Affirming the consequent is a type of structured of the it's a type of structuring of the argument that I've already explained, which is if P, then Q, Q, therefore P. So what is P1 here? Here, let's make it clear. Bracket out to P1, P2, and conclusion, because I'm not convinced this is an argument. What I asked was to give the argument, and we'll check whether it's affirming the consequent. This is not yet an argument. So until you actually make it an argument.
Sure.
So I'll just ask it again. Produce an argument. Sorry, question begging is also a property of arguments. It's when the conclusion appears in one of the premises. Now I haven't produced an argument. Yes, it is. Question beggingness is a type of circularity. It's actually a species of informal circularity when the motivations in light of the conclusion are non-informative because the conclusion appears in one of the premises. Now I haven't produced an argument where the conclusion is one of the premises. I haven't given any argument for that fact. So I'm going to get clear. What's the argument that I gave that's affirming the consequent or question begging? Wait, so I just want to get clear. Are you still holding on to the view? I'm clarifying something. Do you still have the view that I've affirmed the consequent?
Yeah, I meant it. Okay, sure. If you want
Yes.
to strictly, then no. But I meant it in the way that you're forming it in questions.
So I didn't affirm the consequent.
Wouldn't necessarily be
Well,
propositions.
questions aren't propositions.
Not in the strict sense of
Sorry,
sure.
no series of questions can be question begging or affirming the consequent because questions can't have truth value.
It would be because
Sorry, no. Propositions are the things. What it means for something to be question begging or affirming the consequent is a type of error in structure of an argument. Questions don't appear in an argument. So when you say I've given a series of questions that form affirming the consequent or question beggingness, you just sound like a retard.
The proposition, hello. Yeah, the
Do you agree?
proposition is the assumption
Do you agree you would sound like a retard if you acted as if a series of questions can follow some formal structure?
If you heard me, if you're like listening, I said it wouldn't be in a strict sense, sure. And you're
Wait,
still
sorry.
back on
When
that.
you say not okay, what is the non-strict sense in which they are question begging? What is that?
Deductive argumentation, like premises and
Questions
propositions.
don't appear in deductions.
Yeah, and I know I just said that it wouldn't be in a strict
And you
sense.
understand, and we both agree question beggingness and affirming the consequent.
The entire thing,
Sorry.
just like the first part of
And
it.
do we agree? Sorry, do we agree that both affirming the consequent and question beggingness are both properties of arguments? They're types of deductions.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said.
Do you agree that affirming the consequent and question beggingness are both types of deductions? They're a species of error deduction. You just said that I didn't. You agree in the non-strict sense. It's not a deduction. Then in no way. Okay. So then now you just contradicted yourself. Now it's not a deduction, and it's question begging and or affirming the consequence. But in any case, let's just get clear. Let's just try and recapitulate where we are.
So what's the
Let's take steps back. So where we're at is you gave a first argument. Your first the first stage one argument you gave. The first premise in that argument was a biconditional, and I'll just ask it again. Do you have an argument supporting the biconditional?
Yes, you didn't even read the whole thing I wrote. What's deduction? If you're gonna use that term.
Sorry, I'm asking you. Do you have an argument supporting
Exactly.
the first premise of the argument?
It's just so sad. Yeah, and you're saying that you're not being fallacious when I'm talking about you assuming logic. When I'm asking for your methodology.
Assuming logic? What does that? Logic's not a proposition. Can't assume logic. You can only assume proposition.
Valid.
What does it mean for a tool that's valid? What does that mean?
That it would comport to some type of reality.
I don't think any logics comport with. I never had that view. Most logicians don't have this view either. Most logicians do not believe that they're not logical realists, so they don't think that logics. Hold on, I'm trying to explain something to you. Most logicians do not believe in logical realism and believe that logic comports with reality. I've never said that. So when you said I'm assuming, when you made the claim, I'm assuming that logic comports with reality. When you made the claim that I assume that logic comports with reality, what's that argument?
Yeah, then that's what I'm asking for. How would you justify my?
No, sorry. You made the claim I assumed logic comports with reality. I'm asking what's the argument I made that
That's
assumption.
based on your agnosticism, because otherwise I would just have to take it that you're negating it.
Sorry, I need you to give an argument supporting that, unless you don't have one.
Yeah, and that's asking the thing in question.
Sorry, you made the
Or
claim
that's assuming
that
the
logic comports, that I assume logic comports with reality, and I asked you whether you had an argument, and it doesn't seem you offered an answer.
Yeah, so what other way would you justify it then?
That's not an answer.
What?
The question I asked is, do you have an argument
I wasn't asking
that
the question.
I assume that it comports with reality?
Yeah, I'm responding to this thing that you keep repeating.
So do you have an
because
argument?
It's not prior to my. Yeah, and you understand I'm questioning
Wait,
argumentation.
you do have an argument.
And I'm questioning argumentation itself in your worldview.
I don't know what that means, but I'm asking you whether you have. Sorry, I'm asking you whether you have an argument.
Yeah, and that's again. I don't know if you just heard me. That's why you said you don't know what it means, because you're stuck on this first.
I'm asking you whether you have an argument. What was the answer?
Yeah, that's gonna be assuming the thing in question.
Okay, now you're question begging.
What an argument?
Now you're question begging, and I can explain it. I asked whether or not you had an argument for the statement, then I've made that assumption, and then you said you said that question presupposes that the thing that you've already claimed I assumed. So the reasoning to believe it, or in fact, this wouldn't even be a question begging. This might be a type of bootstrap objection or anything. But in any case, no matter what you're doing some type of circularity. And I just want to know whether you have an argument supporting the claim that I've made the assumption logic comports with reality.
Right, and would deduction proceed from logic? Yeah, so
Don't ask me any questions. Don't ask me any questions.
I didn't hear what you said.
Don't ask me any questions. Offer an answer.
Well, so you want me to just assume that you're correct?
I'm not asking you to assume anything. I'm asking you to offer an answer.
So then why are you telling me that I need to just accept your questions?
I don't know what it means to accept a question, and I don't know what it means for a question to be valid. What I asked you is because you made the claim I assumed logic comports with reality. I'm now asking whether you have an argument supporting that.
Yeah, so what deduction?
Wait. Was the answer yeah? Well, I don't know yet. I'm not going to answer any questions you're asking me because right now I currently have a question on the table that hasn't been answered.
You sound a lot like familiar. I mean, similar to Danny Phil talk.
That's
It's
fine.
like classical logic.
So,
So like,
are you going to answer?
that deductions and yeah, and I've answered.
Don't ask me any questions. I'm asking you to if you're going to offer. Sorry, I'm asking you a question. I want to know the answer. It's an assertion.
It would be because you're just ignoring my points.
Are you joking?
Am I joking?
What's the assertion I made?
The validity of your question. Of language.
What it?
Argumentation of deduction.
Sorry, an assertion is a type of proposition. We agree. Questions aren't proposition. I asked a question. So trivially, it follows. Trivially, it follows. I didn't give an assertion because I asked you a question. Now, if you want to say the question's loaded as a presupposition, then just give the argument the question's loaded. If you don't think it's loaded, answer the question.
I didn't. No, it's not about any nuance. That's not the problem.
I'm asking you if you think either to offer an answer. Sorry, I'm commanding you to either offer an answer, or if you think the question is loaded, then
I told you that.
then you can give the argument
said
the
you
question's loaded.
I didn't hear what you said at the second part.
If you think the question is loaded, then give that argument. If you don't have the view the question's loaded, then offer. Then sorry. So then offer an answer. It can't be an assertion and a question. That would just be a contradiction on your behalf. Questions are contrasted with because they're not propositions.
You think assertions are only from propositions?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where the problem. That's the problem we have.
Okay, I don't care. I want to know what's the answer to the question.
Exactly.
No. You're doing this thing where I'm entertaining questions, and then what you do is you use that. You're doing this intentionally. You're doing this tactic. You keep trying to ask as many questions, and I finally bite and answer one question. Then you want to take me down a series of questions, whilst you never answered the question I've had on the table for the longest. Now let's get clear. What is the answer to the question? To be clear, the question is: Do you have an argument for the biconditional statement that appears in the first premise of your argument? Now, what I will do is I will just stop speaking entirely. And unless you offer an answer, I will not respond. So let's use our listening ears and get very clear what the question is. To be clear, the question is, do you have an argument for the biconditional proposition contained as your first premise in the stage 1 argument? That being, if and only if God, then knowledge. Now, do you have an argument?
Right, so I can just do the same thing. If you don't understand my questions prior to your assertion, then I'm just going to go quiet.
What assertion did I make?
Right, so this is the problem. Your assertion was the assumption of the validity of language or argumentation or deduction.
What's the argument? I assumed any of that.
Claim that I need a supporting argument for something, and I wasn't negating that I don't.
Wait, what's the argument? I'm assuming. Sorry, what's the argument? I'm assuming the validity of language.
You're assuming the validity.
I don't even know what that means, but we can get into the semantics after you give the argument. Actually,
Yeah. So would the meaning be? Yeah. So would meaning?
no. I'm asking whether you have an art. Look, you made the claim. I'm assuming the validity of language. The claim I'm making an assumption is when I'm asking if you have an argument supporting. Do you have an argument supporting? I'm making that assumption.
Yeah.
Okay, type in the chat. Type it out in the chat.
Does language assume logic? It's a simple question.
Do you have, I don't know, maybe you don't have an argument, so if you don't have an argument, feel free to leave. I'll just wait for you to produce the argument.
I'm going back to that.
Sorry, I'm on the same thing. I didn't go back to anything. You made the claim, I'm assuming the validity of logic, and I'm asking whether you have an argument. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until you produce an argument that I've made such assumption.
Yeah, it would just be through your agnostic epistemology.
The argument, you can type in the...
And I'll have to take that because you're not granting any position.
Yeah, you know, I'll do it for you. I'll type it out. What's P1 of the argument?
Are you tracking?
What's P1 of the argument? Are you tracking? You made the claim, I'm assuming the validity of language. That claim requires a defense. What's the defense? That would be in light of an argument. If you have an argument, you can produce the argument. If not, you can admit you don't have an argument. But presumably, you won't want to admit you don't have an argument. So do you have an argument? And if the answer is yes, what's the argument? I'll write it out for you.
I'll just wait.
Okay, so what's premise 1?
I'll wait. Just do the same thing as you.
Okay, so at this point, he's basically retreated. He's shelled up like a hermit, like a bitch.
I didn't accept your questions.
What does it mean to accept a question?
You know, questions would still entail some type of validity.
I don't know what that means.
You said they don't.
I don't know what that even means.
Yeah, so language, and in this case, like you're asking for some type of...
When you say entails, are you saying it... When you say entails, are you saying it logically entails? Because validity is not a proposition. It's a noun, right? Entailment relations are... Okay, so what is ontological entailment? What is that?
Yeah, so you'll need some type of, like, grounding.
And wait. When you say it ontologically entails, if the relation is between ontic things, what does it even mean to say validity exists? What does that even mean? Because only objects exist.
What are you saying?
You said it ontologically entails. Presumably, if it's an ontological entailment, the entailment relation, the relata, is two things that are ontic, right? It just means things that exist. It's a relationship between existing things. You said the latter relata is validity, that it ontologically entails validity. Now, validity is not an object. Validity can't exist.
Yeah, because logic would have to have some type of ontological status.
And what's the argument for that?
What's the argument for that?
When you make the claim, okay, so what's the argument that the contrary is impossible?
So if it's grounded in like a human mind or any cognitive function, that would make it impossible because logic's like immutability in this case couldn't be subjective.
Wait, sorry, I'm not seeing an argument. If you want, I could type it out for you. So I'll type it out. So the conclusion is that logic not existing is sorry. So the conclusion of the argument would be that the non-existence of logic is impossible, right? And we'll see what premise you support that.
Yeah, this is still begging my question.
I'm question begging. I haven't produced an argument. I'm wondering what's the premise you supporting your argument right now.
Yeah,
or sorry, your claim.
Think only propositions. What are you asking now?
So look, there's the structure. I'm gonna copy and paste this so then I can actually type into the contents of those premises. Your conclusion was that the non-existence of logic is impossible. What's special pleading?
This is just special pleading.
What is the special pleading?
Yeah, you're only accepting some type of truth in a certain format.
What's the special pleading?
That you're saying I need to have an argumentation. I'm not negating argumentation, but I'm saying in your worldview, how would you account for argumentation?
Okay, so special pleading is when something is principally true in some way, and then the instance in which it's not principally true in a way that I affirm, and then I don't offer any symmetry breaker between the case in which it breaks the principle and the rest of the instances in which it's principally true. Now, what you did not describe was anything that was even remotely close to special pleading. So I'm just going to ask, what's the argument, what's the premises of this argument supporting this conclusion?
I didn't hear, I was also talking.
The premises, fill them in.
I don't accept that as valid, unless you present how
Sorry, you accept what as valid? What are you not accepting as valid?
Language.
What does it?
You need language for argumentation.
What does it mean for language to be valid?
So for example, any deductive.
Not an example. I'm asking for a definition of the word validity as used indexed to language.
Yeah, so the nature would have to be proportional to the form.
I don't know what any of that means.
And
What do you mean?
About, like, some type of like internal structure.
So by validity, you mean the nature must be proportional to the form.
Yeah, the nature.
I have.
Nature of what,
Okay, I have no clue what
sounds-
any of that means. Can you give a definition for that whole expression? Because I have no clue what it means.
Denying, making a skeptical.
Sorry, I'm just asking you what you mean. So I don't know why you're doing the meta. I don't know what it means
Yeah,
for language to be valid. I'm still unclear what that means.
That's. Wait, you're asking about what?
You said I don't grant you language is valid. You said first I'm making that assumption, and you never even gave the argument, and you showed you're incapable of giving the argument, making any assumption. So now I'm asking you what it even means, since you're not going to produce an argument. That's fairly obvious to everyone here, right? The numerous attempts I've tried to get an argument and extract one from you, and you never even gave anything. You offered literally nothing. So now I just want to know, when you say language, I'm assuming language is valid. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean when language is valid? What does that mean?
If I've offered nothing, what have I?
What does it mean when you say language is valid? What does that mean?
Wait, you just made a statement. I don't agree with that.
I don't care. What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't care if you disagree. I'm
You
asking.
said that I wasn't saying anything.
So what do you mean by language is valid? What does that mean?
So what was my point then? If I wasn't saying anything, if it didn't like make any sense, what was I saying?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm asking you a clarifying question at this moment. What you mean by language is valid? What does it mean for language to be valid?
You brought up your statement. You said that I haven't been providing anything meaningful this whole time.
I said you provided no support. What I take to be support is an argument.
You said I didn't say anything. Yeah, so why would I have to accept supporting argument?
I don't care. Okay, I don't care. I'm asking you what you mean currently.
You don't care.
Sorry,
So it's okay.
I'm asking you right now what you mean by language is valid. What does that mean?
Yeah, so are we gonna go to the point I just made because you say it there?
No, because I don't know what that word means yet. Once I understand what that means, we can progress. I don't know what you're saying.
What did I use
When you
for
say
example?
language,
I just said-
you said that I'm assuming language is valid. I want to know what that means.
Well, why are we going to this?
Because this was said before. This was said before, and I've been asking consecutively what you mean. Sorry. I still want to know what you mean. So you're not going to clarify. Is that the idea? You could just tell me outright.
You're not gonna clarify the other thing. You're not gonna clarify when you said I didn't say anything meaningful, and then when I clarified, you said
I did clarify. I said what I mean by you didn't say anything meaningful is that you didn't provide any support for the claim. What I said was a support for the claim is an argument. You haven't produced an argument yet. So that's just trivially true. Now that you're clear, all I was saying by you didn't do anything meaningful, that you didn't give an argument when you didn't give an argument. Now you know that's just a tautology. I just want to know what you mean by language being valid. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I don't know why you got to the consequence or like screaming.
What do you mean by language is when you say I'm assuming language is valid? What does that mean? What does it mean for language to be valid?
Language would be valid?
What does that
Speaking
mean?
in the sense that like deductive argumentation wouldn't support any conclusion that would be like objective.
Sorry,
If we're talking
I don't know what you mean by language being valid. Was that I didn't understand what you said right now, and it doesn't seem that was a definition. If I'm wrong, then maybe type it out so I can be clear and I can reference this very long-winded, unclear definition.
A logical structure, right?
Why would I think that? I mean, I'm assuming you don't have an argument for that.
Wouldn't think that. So language doesn't have a logical structure? Or you
No.
need to justify that? Language doesn't have a logical structure.
I'm not convinced that language has a logical structure. Logical structure is a property of
What's your foundation?
propositions and inferences.
Right, but that would be using language.
And language can form propositions, but it doesn't use logical structuring because it's not a formal language. It's not an arithmetic like logic is. Logic structure is specifically an arithmetic. All languages is language is some type of system that uses certain syntaxes, certain symbols, and other stuff of the sort to have some utility in communication. So, can you answer the question now? What you mean by language being valid? If all you mean is that I don't grant you that language has logical structure, okay, then we both agree. Well, at least I'm not convinced of that. And in fact, I would even say that's trivially untrue. But in any case, if we both don't grant that, then in any case, I don't even see what's the dispute, because I never made the claim that language has logical structure. So when you made the claim that I'm assuming language has logical, sorry, when I make the claim, because you're not listening, what I say is very pertinent. You made the claim that I'm assuming I didn't ask you a question. When you made the claim that I'm assuming that that language has a logical structure, now we both recognize that's untrue because I never made any claims of the sort nor presupposed it having such. I don't even have that belief. So now that that's out of the way, and now we can move past this language being valid, I want to get clear whether you have an argument supporting the biconditional premise in your stage 1 argument.
Yeah, and that's based on what you believe, right?
What's the argument?
Exactly. Yeah, just ignore that one. That was great. So how can we make any progress if I don't know what you hold to?
You don't need to know what I
It's
hold
like
to.
arguing against an atheist without knowing that they're atheist.
You don't need to know what I hold to make that. Look, when I make a claim and I'm justified in the claim, what is not required is sorry. When I make a claim, what is not required is that I investigate or interrogate anyone else's view for me to be justified. So when you say that, when you make the claim, if and only if God then knowledge, that claim doesn't require knowledge or awareness about my views, because if you're justified in that claim, you don't need to know my beliefs. That makes no sense. If I don't know this random person on the other side of the planet's views, am I then unjustified in any proposition I believe, given I first had not investigated or interrogated his view? No. Justification is a property of beliefs. If your beliefs justify, that just means the argument that ensures the belief, that proposition you believe. If that's the case, then you can give the argument. If you don't have an argument, then we can leave it here. If I'm in an empty room with no one to speak with, I can be justified in a number of claims. I don't need to interrogate anyone's view. So when you make the claim you're justified in the belief, what you can do is simply write down the reasoning you have to believe the proposition. Just like in the example of someone being in an empty room, we can imagine someone who's justified in some given belief. They can write down the arguments supporting their belief on a piece of paper in that empty room with no one to communicate or to inquire about any other person's beliefs or worldview. So all of that is all besides the point and some devious tactic to prevaricate. So now what I don't want to do is allow you to prevaricate. I just want to get clear, do you have an argument supporting the biconditional?
So you can ask me questions, but I can ask you questions?
Do you have an argument supporting the biconditional?
Yeah, ignore that one as well.
Yep, I'm going to ignore any question that I am not currently, until I get an answer.
I'm gonna ignore all questions until I get an answer.
Okay, then we could just wrap it up here. Given I obviously I asked first.
Oh, asking first is then like somehow prior?
Yep, questions are answered preliminarily. The sequential order in which an interlocutor communicates a question is when the inversive interlocutor offers a response.
That's literally wrong. No.
Okay, then you just have conflicting dialectical norms with like anyone on the planet. I would think.
Is that the only mode of priority?
I don't know what you're asking. But in any case, it's not an answer.
So is it going to be preliminary, or if we're talking about epistemology and ontology?
We're not talking about epistemology or ontology.
You just brought that up.
No, I said when you ask a question, the questions are answered preliminarily. I didn't talk about epistemology or ontology.
Is that the only modality?
I'm not even talking about modalities. Nothing I said used any modal language. So I don't know why you're referring to a modality. You sound retarded.
Oh, okay. Yeah, more names.
You sound retarded when you talk about modality whilst I said nothing modal.
Did you not?
Nope.
Well, I mean, you didn't, but you asserted that there's only one way of engaging.
I never made that claim either.
Whoever asks the question first.
I never made that claim either.
You didn't?
Nope.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you can't track. It's very interesting you can't track.
So in epistemology, when we're comparing paradigms, is it just whoever asks the question first?
Sorry, what was your question?
In epistemology, when we're comparing paradigms, is it
by the way, I'm not going to answer any questions until I get my answer. So.
Oh, yeah. So you have, you've kind of demonstrated that the whole time.
No, I actually answered questions whilst I still haven't gotten an answer. That's actually a lie. In fact, I can show you on recording. I can show you on the recording. I've answered a number. In fact, I made it clear in the instances in which I did it. I literally said, even though I entertained that question, I even went down. There was one point in which I said, what you do is you try and fish, throwing out a bunch of questions whilst I had not get an answer, to have me bait into answering one of those and then going down the line of question. That should be, maybe that should help you recollect the instance in which I asked the question you hadn't offered an answer.
Wait, why won't you answer my questions though?
Because I asked one first and I haven't gotten an answer. So in every instance, in every instance in which you asked, that, it's just not an answer to what I'm asking.
I was asking you epistemic questions for how you know argumentation to be valid, and then you said, well,
I don't even know what that means.
Epistemology is preliminary?
I don't even know what that means. Yeah, when you say argumentation to be valid, what does that mean? I have no clue what you mean by the word.
Talking about your argumentation is gonna, so the argumentation itself, I'm not talking about the
what does it mean for it to be valid?
I'm talking about the grammatical. Yeah, I'm talking about the grammatical validity.
What do you mean grammatical
Like
validity?
syntax. You didn't. So it's gonna be like, for example, like rules of syntax.
So you're asking me,
If language assumes logic.
I don't understand the question.
What do you mean?
You said I'm assuming that arguments are
I
valid,
don't understand.
and what that means is I'm assuming
No,
arguments
they
have
derive from
are grammatically
they derive
ruled.
from
Is that what you're saying?
validity. They derive from the grammatical validity. I was asking this whole time, how could you account for things like that?
I don't know what grammatical validity is, but I don't
I was
understand. I
explaining
still don't
grammatical
understand.
syntax.
I don't know when you say grammatical validity, if that just means grammatical syntax rules. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know how I would interpret that. But in any case, I don't understand. You're saying I'm assuming my argumentation to be valid. I haven't offered an argument. I'm asking you whether you have an argument. Arguments are epistemic justifications
So, alright,
for
so what
propositions.
until- so what
Sorry.
until you didn't understand?
Sorry. When I say I'm justified in about some given proposition, literally what that just means by definition in an epistemic context, or strictly only in an epistemic context, that only means I have an argument supporting it. So when you say I'm justified in belief in God, that just means you have an argument. When I asked what's the argument, you didn't present an argument. And then it seemed like you were questioning whether or not something about the structure of arguments, which in any case is not interesting. All I was asking is whether you had an argument. Now,
I was not.
either you're equivocating when you say that you're justified, trivially true, you're saying you have an argument, and then you should just produce the argument.
Yeah, how can I produce an argument about a position I don't know?
Sorry, so you don't know about the position. Okay, so then you're in no position to make the claim. Is that right?
How does that follow?
That was a
I'd like to
question.
know your criteria for how you know that follows. Right, in your question, I'd be questioning how you can make questions.
How can I make questions? What does that mean?
Criteriology, is that possible? So I'm assuming you know that criteriology is going to be prior to methodology, right?
I have no clue what criteriology is. Probably not even a word. But in any case, what I'm asking you is,
Wait,
I'm asking you what you're asking me when you say that I'm assuming argumentation. And first you said I'm assuming argumentation to be valid. Still don't know what that means. And now you're saying that I'm assuming I could make. Sorry. Now you're saying. Sorry. Now you're saying I'm assuming I could make arguments. But in any case, it doesn't seem like you have an argument supporting that claim, anyways. That I'm making that assumption.
Yeah, so what would that entail if I didn't give you an answer? What is there a consequence?
I don't know what you're asking me.
You've been doing this for every single time I ask a question. You just say, I don't know what you're asking me. This is a debate tactic.
This is no tactic. I have no clue what you're saying. You're genuinely using very esoteric, retarded language no one uses. I have no clue what 90% of this conversation was. You just spew gibberish and act like you know, like philosophy. You clearly don't.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. So does anyone else want to talk with this guy, or probably not? He's like a dishonest piece of shit who doesn't go anywhere. So I think we're all done here.
Yeah, post this on YouTube. That was really